This is No But For Real.
No, but for real. Tell me how I feel. What up, everybody? I'm Dave.
I'm Jazzy.
And welcome to your new favorite podcast, No But For. 1, 2, 3, 4. Real.
Shut up.
No, but for real.
Episode.
Who cares? Lost count. Whatever. We here, though. That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters.
Absolutely.
Welcome to the show. We're glad you're here. Shout out to our Patreon. $5 a month. You get all this great melanin, this good looking stuff, behind the scenes, exclusive stuff. Only $5 a month or however much you want to give.
Absolutely.
So again, thank y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, do all the things.
Thank you for the support.
Absolutely.
Support is support.
Thank y'all for the follows on IG, all that stuff. But we here.
We here.
We here. What is Not But For Real about? We just trying to have real conversations, do the inner work to become better people. For people.
Sure. For sure.
And not do this thing called life alone.
Absolutely. That
Nails,
part.
how you doing?
I'm doing. Energy, a little low because I'm just.
We out here working.
Yes, we working. So it's like, but I love what you said when you said, like, I'm tired, but I'm also energized. Like, it's so true. It's like you tired, but it's like when you're following your passion, it doesn't matter. Like, it matters. Right. You do need your rest, but at the same time, it's like, I can't rest. I got to be up to do this and do that. And it's exciting. Like, I'm super excited to be tired, to be following
it's a good time.
My passion. Yeah, it's a great tired. So I'm tired, but I'm not complaining. I'm good. I'll stay being tired if I can continue doing this forever. Yes. Absolutely. Yes. I'm loving this journey right now.
Same. I am exhausted.
I bet.
I'm tired. Business is growing, and I am all the ways tired. However, I am looking forward to just going away for a little bit next weekend. So I'll be gone for a few days. Not. I know you aren't. It's okay. I need it, though. I just need to.
You do.
Get out of here.
100%. You've been saying this for a while now. So
a while.
Yes, take
like
your butt out of here.
Okay.
And I don't want to hear nothing about it when you come back. You done had it. Let it go.
You are correct. All right.
All right.
Our first segment is called Let's Keep It Real.
Or Let's Get Personal.
Sorry.
Either way, we keep it real,
that's the second segment. I will get it at some point.
Both, basically. We getting personal.
We getting personal.
Keep it real.
All right, let me try it again. This segment is called Let's Get Personal.
Okay, this is a cute question. So, your partner doesn't look quite the way they did when you started dating. How do you handle it? Gains weight or something like that. What do you do, Dave?
How much weight we talking?
Listen, the question is, if your partner looks different.
I got questions.
Your partner looks different.
I got questions, though. Like, what made you gain the weight is my question.
Just kind of like life, letting yourself go. Getting comfortable. Relationship weight is real.
It is. Oh, I know. Trust me.
That's why I got to have a treadmill on that.
Dad weight is real. I just saw a guy just had a baby. Before the baby came, he was, he wasn't like fit or skinny, but like average dude. That baby been here 3 weeks, something like that. That dad weight is here and here to stay.
Oh my God.
And I felt so bad for him. So bad.
So, okay.
All right, to answer the question, I'm not deflecting. Honestly, it really wouldn't bother me. Unless it's to like the point where
how much weight we talking?
Like,
okay, so say
because my thing
say
is
they started off and they was slim, like maybe a good slim to can't put a number on it because a slim 140 can be really, really skinny to somebody. It just depends on their body type. You know what I'm saying?
True.
So we can't really put a weight on it. I could just say they just look different. Like the question, I think, implies enough. If they look different. So like you were attracted to one thing and now they look different than what you were attracted to. How do you handle that? You said it wouldn't bother you, but
how would I handle it? Honestly, I would have a conversation, especially if I see it's bothering them. So if you gain weight, I would be like, hey, let's have a conversation. Like, I know the weight bothers you. What is it that's stopping you from like getting back to being snatched, as they say in the movies? Having your waist snatched.
Which is probably the same reason why they gained the weight, now, obviously.
That's talking about weight gain.
Yeah, it's not my weight gain.
If you showed up and you done got the little plastic surgery, a BBL, your face look a little tighter, I gotta go. Gots to go.
You can't date a BBL person.
I don't want to. But what? Why did you get it?
What if you can't tell?
Depends on how long we've been together. I'll be able to tell. Like,
okay, so yeah, you talking about the question, they look different.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't got a BBL.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess that's fair.
Like, I was with you.
But you would know if
that.
I mean,
it's one way.
You would probably have
and
to.
then you just randomly show up and you look
You're
another
not.
way?
That's not going to happen though. It's a whole like. I feel like there's like I don't know how long it is, but I want to say it's a few months at least.
Because there's also a healing process.
Yeah. So you're not gonna like.
You see the ones where they was at the airport kneeling because they got a BBL and they can't sit on their butts. No. You mean to tell me all that's gonna change?
Listen,
when
I
you
consider
get
getting a BBL. I ain't gonna hold you up. I still follow Dr. Miami and them.
No.
I be seeing what they be doing. I'm like, ooh.
For what though?
How much is it again?
Why? Do some squats, eat some collard greens and mashed potatoes.
Listen, it's not like that. It's hard to get your body the way you want it to look. It takes a lot of hard work and dedication. And if you're like an extremely busy person, surgery, it makes sense for you to want to get surgery. Like, because you are going to be consumed with fitness, meal prepping and getting your protein in and all that. You're not going to be able, I mean, I'm saying you're not going to be able to, because I believe you 100% be able to do whatever you want to do.
Right.
But I can understand the frustration of, doing all that, or I can just pay this 10 bands and look exactly how I want to look in a few months.
Okay.
Me personally, no. But I did consider it. I'm not going to lie, because my weight be up and down. And my weight be up and down because of my moods and, things that I'm going through in life.
I mean, if you got the money and that's what will make you happy.
But you not dating a woman that gets a BBL.
No, because I want to know, what do you think is wrong with your butt right now?
It's flat. What if she was shaped? What if she was shaped like, because there's some people that's like big at the top, really small at the
bottom. I'm not attracted to that, so wouldn't be a problem with me.
Oh my God. Okay, so let me answer the question.
I'm a butt guy, so.
Oh Lord. Well, okay. I guess that makes sense. Makes sense. So if she gained weight and you're not really attracted, you think you would still be attracted to her if she gained weight that makes her look different?
Completely like
she looks different. She doesn't look like the woman that you first started dating.
It would probably be, if I'm being real, probably be a little loss of attraction. Like,
I don't know why I laughed at that.
I would be concerned though, because I'm like, what's going on?
Right.
Like,
so what's okay? Because I actually had like a friend tell me that their friend lost attraction to their girlfriend because she gained weight. And he told her, he was like, listen, you were this, and I'm just being honest, I'm not attracted to what you look like now. You know what I'm saying? Why don't we work on getting you back to what you was? And
right.
she was like, no.
Oh, bye.
Why are you so funny today?
Well.
Shut up. Okay, so.
Gotta go. I don't really know what else to tell you. I communicated.
Oh my God, that is messed up.
I was straight up with you. I even offered to walk through this thing with you, and you said no. Okay. Sounds like you made the decision for both of us.
Well, you know what?
Have a good day.
I think I'm sensing some what is it called? Insensitivity here.
For who?
I feel like your response is a little insensitive to to what this woman could be going through. Yes, she may not be, doing what she's supposed to do, because if your man telling you he's not attracted to you, absolutely, that's gonna make you want to jump on the treadmill today. Like, what? I don't want that. But think about, I feel like I don't think it's a natural response to be like, I don't care, I don't want to. I feel like that's more so a deeper situation going on here.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Which
I think
makes sense, because that's what we about to talk about.
But my thing is, let's tackle that. Let's get to now.
No, that's not what you said. You said bye.
But you're right, because you said no.
But she said no because she's going through some things.
It also depends on like the length of how long we've been together and everything like that. Like, my thing is this. The reason why I would say bye is because you have proven to me that you don't want to put in the work.
Or you don't want to collaborate. Like, right. Collaboration is important.
Because I'm not even saying I would leave at first. I'm saying, hey, I'm in this with you.
Right.
And you like, no. And I'm like, okay. Bye. Like, I don't even know what else to tell you. Because I can't do it for you.
Right.
But I can walk through this thing with you. But
yeah,
if you don't want it, well,
I think just being on this journey of, like, me today, being on this journey of getting to know myself and being highly introspective, trying to understand why I do certain things, why I think certain ways. To me today, being in a situation like that, like, say it was the opposite, like, my man gained weight and I'm not as attracted to him or whatever. Me today, I think something was wrong. So I'd want to know what's wrong. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I completely understand what David's saying at the same time. Because it's like, I gave you an opportunity to collaborate with me, to be in a relationship. That's basically what being in a relationship is. We are in this together, and I'm telling you, I want us to be in this together, and you're saying no. I'm over here and you over there. That's not a healthy, that's not a relationship. So I understand why somebody would be like, you're not even trying to be in a relationship. Why would I keep trying to be in a relationship?
Right.
But sometimes it's not that simple, right?
Right.
It's not as simple as, they don't want to be in a relationship, because make it make sense. They're in a relationship with you. Obviously, they do want to be in that relationship with you. So now it's time to start thinking, what is going on? Because now you're kind of contradicting your feelings. Your feelings are not making any sense.
How would you handle it though? Like, what would be your first response?
My first response would be, are you happy with your weight? Are you genuinely happy with your weight?
Right.
And I would say, because a lot of times we are our best, I wouldn't even say our best selves, because I feel like we kind of pretend to be our best selves when we don't have partners. But I think we kind of it's easy for us to focus on being our best selves without a partner. But I don't believe that we could ever be our best selves without a partner. But like I said, I think that our focus on being our best selves seems to weigh heavier without a partner, which obviously that's the conversation we're trying to change, right? Because we need each other. We need to be doing it while we're with each other and things like that. But I just said that to say, if you were single and I met you single, and you were fit and you were in the gym and you were doing these things and you were meal prepping, and then next thing you know, you gain all this weight, and then you tell me you okay with it, something ain't right.
Right.
Now, I can't force you to admit that at the same time, but I am going to push for you to think about that yourself. Like, okay, no way I met you and you were this person, and then you get content, or you get real comfortable with yourself to the point where you forget to, because that happens. We talk about that. Like, you get in a relationship and you forget to feed yourself.
Right.
This is a prime example of that. So I'm not going to walk away from the relationship without that being something that is discussed first. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't make you come to the revelation like, yeah, I guess I'm kind of I'm forgetting to, love myself or love on myself. I can't make you admit that, but I am going to bring that up. You know, I am going to push that for you. Just even as a friend, you know what I'm saying? Like, this ain't even got nothing to do with us staying together or not staying together. This is just as a friend, I met you, you was a completely different person. Right. Because I feel like weight is a pretty big reflection of what's going on in your life, I feel like. For me, when my weight is up, it's a lot of bad stuff going on mentally. A lot of bad eating. Where's bad eating coming from? You know, comfort eating. What's that coming from? It can get real deep when it comes to weight. So it's not just as simple as a physical attraction. It's more so like it's a testament to what's going on in your head, and it's time to start being open about it. And if you can't do that in a relationship, then what are you doing with that person? So understand both sides. Me, like I said, before pre-education of introspection, absolutely, like, what is the point of being with you if we can't collaborate? But I feel like now I look at life different. I look at people different. And it's not even about just relationships. People are people. And people need people to kind of to create understandings of their experiences and what's going on in life. Right. So relationship takes a back burner when it comes to stuff like this. Like, we don't even got to talk about our relationship. Let's just talk about what's going on with you. So true. I guess that's my long-winded answer. I'd be there for you. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I try to be there for you.
I would try my best.
It's only so much you can do.
All the way real.
It's only so much you can do.
Great question.
Yeah, I like that question. Because I think that really ties in. Look.
Ties into what we talking about, because we keeping it real.
Oh, yes, for sure.
And what are we talking about today, Nails?
We are talking about trauma today.
Yes,
trauma today. Yes, and the reason why I wanted to talk about trauma, it's the obvious reasons, right? We're talking about growing and being better. And even if we just take a step back from growing and being better, we're getting to know ourselves. Mm-hmm. The journey of self-love and self-worth, you're kind of having to get to know who you are. Our trauma is a part of that, and we can't ignore it, and we can't act like it didn't happen, or we have to be aware of things that happen to us, or we have to be aware of just who we are. Right. And a lot of it's so crazy because when I was doing my research, it's so deep because a lot of who we are a product of our experiences. And I don't think we think about it in depth like we should. The fact that we are literally a product of our experiences, but somehow we kind of like don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? Like, or we don't really dive deep to think about our experiences and think about, what part of what I'm doing now has to do with these experiences. Like, right. I don't feel like we talk about it. Like, but there's this trend going around about healing. We love to talk about healing and this self-love journey, but when are we going to start talking about all the things that we need to heal from? So that's kind of the reason I wanted to talk about it. It's 100% important when it comes to this whole podcast. This episode, I feel like, is one of the most important things. Just being really honest with what you went through and how did that create you? And what now? What after that? So when I first think of trauma, for me, when I first think about trauma, I immediately start thinking about what's wrong? Like, what's wrong with me? What do you think about? Or even just other people. Like, I think about like, oh, they're flawed. There's something going on. That something's wrong with them.
When I think about trauma, I don't think about what's wrong. I think about the foundation of how you got here to this point, which all trauma is something happened here, which played a part into who you are now. So that's what I think about when I think about trauma, is what's the why, or what's the thing, or the multiple things that happened that got you to be this person today.
And that's great, because what's crazy is like when and not even what's wrong, when I think of trauma, I always think of like something bad happening. Like I could think about 3 or 4 things that I went through that was like a bad event that would technically be trauma. But trauma, when I was doing my research, trauma is really subjective. And I like when you said, okay, your experiences led you to here. It's literally the combination of those things. It's not just this event. It's really the events and the effects of the events as a combination. That's what really creates the trauma. And to kind of like, it was a book I was reading. He gave an example of that. He said, COVID is a great example of that. COVID affected people differently. Right. COVID could have been trauma for some people. COVID could not have been trauma for some people. So it's completely subjective. So I don't really know if we need to get into like details of like specifically like sexual abuse and things like that. It's more so focusing on just trauma itself because it can mean so many different things. So I think that's important to understand that a trauma is not so much this horrible event. It's more so the effects, like Dave said. What happened after? How is that affecting you afterwards? That is what I really kind of want to talk about. And I think being educated on trauma is very important because I think the lack of education causes us to lack compassion. You know what I'm saying? Like I see it all the time where trauma is kind of like dismissive, or like certain things that we do to each other, we kind of like dismiss it and be like, you can't do that with me, and you need to go fix that, and you need to go do this. But it's kind of deeper than that. It's way deeper than that. There's actually we have a biological makeup of the things that we do. Like our brain adapts through our experiences. So that's why I want to dig deep into this, you guys, because for me it was a lot of revelation when I was researching this stuff, because literally, so one of the first things that I found about how our brain develops, right? But I first want to get into like general causes of like trauma. And this is just from research from doctors, just books that I've read, and all of that. But so some general causes is loneliness, feeling unwanted, feeling unloved, feeling invalidated, feeling unvalued. To me, that speaks volumes to me, because what does that tell me? That tells me how important relationships are. Right. How important relationships are to your trauma, or to your experiences, to your self-worth, to you feeling good about yourself.
I think that's the crazy part.
That's nuts.
It's like what causes your trauma is also what develops your character.
Yeah.
That was really good. And it's like relationships cause so much damage, but relationships also cause so much healing. And it's like
it should.
And if it's the right relationship, of course. Like if it's cultivated in a way where it's healthy and things like that. Mm-hmm. But my point is, you have the same thing, and it could go either way, right? And it's like, or you have one relationship that it damaged you in this particular time, and over time, that same relationship has healed you.
For sure.
So and that's what trips me out about trauma, right? Like, the source of your trauma can also be the source of your development and your healing.
Exactly. So I think, I thought that was deep, because we live in a world, we talk about this almost every episode, where everybody is trying to do things on their own, and everybody is shooting for this independent life and this loneliness and this I can do it by myself. But those are trauma responses.
Right.
And I had to look at myself like, Jazzy, you're traumatized, basically. Yeah, and it's like, I knew that. But when you really start reading up on stuff, it's like, wow, why would I want to do things alone? To me, that's a trauma response. Like, you trying to be alone. You don't want anybody to help you out. That's a trauma response.
It's definitely mine.
Yes, for sure. So it's like, to me, like I said, that speaks volumes because the things that causes trauma is basically your lack of connecting with other people. The lack of connection with other people is kind of how, for my research, is what causes these issues within ourselves. Right. That already right there is just a lot for me. So I wanted to talk about a little bit how the brain develop. I thought this was dope because it talks about how the brain develops from feelings and thoughts starts first. And then or not even the thoughts. It's like the survival part of your brain, the feelings. Let me see if I put that down correctly. Yes. So it's literally like the feelings, your experiences. It's very, very important to your brain development because that's what starts developing first. I thought that was crazy. Even with how your brain it processed the same way. It starts from your feelings and then it goes to the thought process of your brain. So I thought that was dope too. Just think about how many times you get into like arguments with people and you get so mad at them because they're feeling. But when you think about it, if you know how the brain works, that's where it starts. It starts with the feelings. It starts with your reaction as far as how you feel. And not even that, that's just a thought process. Your brain is developed that way too. Right. So just think about it. You as a kid, think about all the experiences that happened as a kid, and your brain is developing through those experiences it's the feelings part of the brain that's developing first. Mm-hmm. That to me, like, it's kind of hard because obviously I'm not an expert, so I can't really go in too much depth. But if y'all can just understand what I'm trying to say, that to me is deep because it's like the feelings part of my brain is the first part that develops. So everything in your childhood as an infant, all of those things, all of that mattered. Every inch of everything that you went through as a kid, all of that developed your brain a certain way. It made your brain, it literally created this, what did they call it? In the book I read, they called it a code book or something like that. So it's just how you view life. How you view life is like literally based on your experiences. And that's how your brain develops, is based on your experiences. And then the brain develops all the human parts of your brain, like the thoughts and how we make sense of everything, like all the intelligence and things like that. That comes after the feelings. That comes after all the experience that you making your brain adapting to the experiences and the feelings that comes with those experiences. Right. That comes afterwards. So just think about how that could play out. You know what I'm saying? Like if you are unloved, now your brain is not really telling you that you're unloved. It's just creating this I feel like it's just creating this image of what life is supposed to look like to you. You don't know. You don't know. You know what I'm saying? You don't know that you're unloved. And that's I feel like why I wanted to talk about this today, because I remember you brought that up, and I don't know if it was the last episode. It was one of these episodes. You said that a lot of times we get in relationships and we don't even know that we're traumatized. We don't even know that we need to heal from stuff. Yeah. This is a part of that, because it's like we go through stuff that happened to us, like that's a result of something that happened to us when we was 2 years old. Yep. We still going through that. Yep. And this is kind of illustrating why that happens. It's happening because our brain literally adapts to our experiences. It's how our brain develops. And I just think that's crazy. I think it's crazy, but I think it helps me understand me, one. So now I get to understand, okay, if this, and this happen, or if, now my brain literally creates this idea of what life is supposed to be like. Right. I don't know. I just think that's just a lot to take in when you think about trying to be better and trying to grow and trying to learn and trying to change. Thinking about what you put into your brain. that to me, and even your kids, we have kids, that's very eye-opening as a parent.
Um, incredible, I'm not sure if she's like a psychologist or something like that. She is a doctor, I know that, but I'm not sure what her profession is. But her name is Dr. Caroline Leaf. Amazing person, and she came out with this book called The Mind-Brain Connection. So there's a difference between your mind and your brain. Everything starts, so how you were talking about feelings, right? Everything starts with a feeling, and your mind tells your brain how that feeling is going to shift you. So I'll give just a personal example, right? And I've talked about this before. My relationship with my father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I always wanted him to be there.
Yeah.
And so it made me feel like I wasn't wanted by him.
Yeah.
So my mind went to automatically, oh, he doesn't love you.
Mm-hmm.
So the feeling was he doesn't want me. He doesn't want that connection. And my mind told me he doesn't love you, or he doesn't really love you like he say he does.
Yeah.
And so it triggers my brain to actually make my body move certain ways towards him. So she does this incredible thing. I hear you breathing in this
I'm
mic
so
really
sorry.
hard.
I'm like leaning into the mic. I'm so sorry.
Y'all gonna hear all of it too.
I hate him so much.
But she does an incredible job of connecting the mind to the brain, and how everything starts from feeling to your mind to your brain. So your mind triggers your brain to tell the rest of your body how you're going to move throughout life.
For sure. And I just think that's, like I said, I just think that was very eye-opening for me, just to know, like, because I'm such a product of everything that I went through as a kid.
Right.
And you don't really realize that. Like, you just grow up like, yeah, I'm good. But really, and this isn't a matter of good or bad, because that's one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about brain development and all of that, because really, the results of what you went through and how your brain develops, really the revelation to that for me is knowing that there's really nothing wrong with us. Our brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, considering what we went through.
Right.
And so it's eye-opening for me in a sense of knowing that, like, okay, our brain is working properly. It's not that our brain isn't working properly. It's not that something's wrong with us. It's not that we're dysfunctional. It's our experiences. And it's the education of that I feel like changes the narrative. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, I know my brain is developing based on my experiences. So what can I control? Probably my experiences now. Or, be more aware of that. And I feel like, especially as parents, knowing that how the brain develops as far as the experiences is what's going to cause the feelings. And then that's what's going to shape, like Dave said, the actual human thoughts and intelligence part of your brain. That, to me, I'm going to keep saying that, guys, because that to me is so crazy.
Because your brain is wired to tell you how you're going to survive. For me, and I'm pretty sure
I think that's dope. Like, God created our brains so dope. Like, the survival mechanism of our brain. Like, we look at those things like, oh, like we'll say somebody, a prime example of, PTSD from war and things like that. Yep. They talk about, how they do certain things, like how it's looked at as like a bad thing, but really it's really showing you that your brain is working the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
It's just your environment's different now. Your experiences are different now. So those things that you needed in war, you don't need in regular life anymore.
And some people, we we end up doing, and sometimes we don't even know it, we become numb to life because you have shut that part of your brain off or somehow shut that part of your brain off to not feel anymore. And most people think, well, if I don't feel it, I'm okay.
Yes.
But you're literally a walking zombie if you are that way. And I was watching the Basement podcast, Upset to Talk. Dope. One of my favorite podcasts. And he had a lady on there, and she was talking about how your body is like a alarm system, right? And you don't know the alarm system is working unless it's on. So how you were saying, your brain is functioning the way it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if your brain is shut off and your body is shut off to feelings. How do you know that the alarm is working? Like, you have to know what triggers you. You have to know, like, if something hurt you, because you can't walk through life numb to everything.
For sure.
Because what it causes you to do, it causes you to just turn off relationships with everybody, causes you to walk away from everything. And that's not how God designed life to be.
Right.
He designed life for you to thrive in it. And I feel like not just me, not just Nails, a lot of people are in survivor mode right now. Mm-hmm. We are trying to survive, and God called us to live a life to thrive.
Yeah.
He said in the Bible, I've come that you might have life and have it more abundantly.
Mm-hmm.
God wants you to live an abundant life. He doesn't want you to live life trying to survive your traumas.
Right.
Trying to, run away from the thing that caused you so much hurt and so much pain. And we try to get through this life, and we said this before, I think the worst thing, don't get me wrong, Tyler Perry's great. Love him. Absolutely great.
Lord, what we got to say about that?
The worst thing he did was to name a movie, I Can Do Bad All By Myself.
I know, right? It was catchy, though.
It's real catchy, because that's the thing. Like,
that's what sells.
That's what's right. It's what sells. And I think his intentions were like, I'm not going to let the bad thing that happened to me stop me from living my best life. I think that was his intention.
I think
However,
more so
that phrase causes people to unconsciously be like, well, I don't really need people.
Right. I think there's another aspect to that where I can do bad all by myself. For me, it 100% obviously implies, this myth of independence, right? But at the same time, I do think there's another side to that to say, what's the point of a drug addict dating a drug addict? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, if I'm going to be a drug addict, I'm telling myself, like, oh, I don't need to be a drug addict anymore. What is the point of dating a drug addict? Like, I can do bad all by myself, to me implies I'd rather just be a drug addict on my own and just go out here and date one. That's probably going to that's not going to help me.
Right.
So I think that's more so what he was trying to get to, especially just me knowing the story. The story was about, toxic relationships. Obviously, I can do bad all by myself was more so implying leave the toxic relationships alone.
Right.
Don't leave relationships alone. So I think it can imply both.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
like I said, I think that's what his
relationships.
intentions were.
Yeah.
But some people, I'm glad we brought this up, because we live in a confirmation bias time. So it's like, you already believe a thing. You're just looking for that video or that thing
that's good.
to confirm what you already believe, so you can walk through life like, see, I ain't the only one.
Yeah,
it ain't
for
just
sure,
me.
For sure. I think we do that, period. I think we capitalize right now off of our traumas. We are capitalizing off of
trauma bonds.
Trauma bonds. People are in
Lord.
relationships right now because they connected through trauma.
And let me tell you what that does. When you become healed from that trauma, I promise you that relationship is not going to last long.
You start seeing them differently.
And because you begin to realize I'm only connected to you because of the pain that I was going through. We shared a common pain, but we don't. Outside of that, what do we have?
Right.
There's nothing more. We don't have anything else in common other than our trauma, which tells me I can't stay here because this relationship really doesn't serve a purpose other than what brought me pain.
So that brings me to talking about If I jumped ahead, I'm sorry. No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
No. That just brings me to talk about the quote unquote consequences of basically not healing from your trauma. So the unhealed trauma, just to name self-sabotage, violence, promiscuity, addiction. I love that self-sabotage is like this. It's very, I want to say, it's not specific. Self-sabotage could be anything. It could be so many different things. For me, I feel like when I hear self-sabotage, I think I definitely do that with feeling undeserving, lacking boundaries, being a people pleaser. Being a people pleaser is in a way self-sabotaging because you care more about other people than you do yourself. You have to sabotage yourself to be able to please other people all the time and not please yourself. You're clearly self-sabotaging. And I think what was eye-opening about these consequences was I feel like this is majority of everybody. We talking self-sabotage, feeling undeserving, lack of boundaries, people-pleasing, violence, promiscuity, addiction. I feel like that's a majority of us. How many of us don't have any of these things? How many of us don't go through any of these things? Most of us go through at least one or all of them.
I want you to give a definition of self-sabotage if you got one.
I don't have a, but we can look it up.
Let's
we can look it up
to
self-sabotage.
I'm going to be very honest. I think that is the number one thing all of us go through when it comes to our traumas is we self-sabotage.
100, and we don't know we're self-sabotaging. We're thinking that we're doing normal behavior, but it's really destructive behavior.
Let me tell you what self-sabotage looks like. It's like this false humility, right? It's like if I compliment you and say you're beautiful and you say, no, I'm not. Self-sabotage.
100%.
But you're calling it humility.
Right.
And it's not.
It's not.
It's a response out of your trauma.
Right.
Because throughout your entire life, nobody said you were beautiful.
Right.
Or
right.
I'm going to get personal. If somebody said, Nels, you're a good mother, and your response is, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
Or just the same things, or like, because I do that all the time. Like, that's so me. Like, you give me a compliment, the first thing I think about is all the things that makes that not true.
Absolutely. And that is self-sabotaging, and that is from a source of trauma.
I think it's a source of feeling lacking connection as a child. Yeah. I don't feel like I had a real connection with my parents. So I think that's where it come from, especially when I was like, I've been studying this for some months now, but real heavy this week. And every time I came across like, just the words we were talking about earlier, like invalidated, right. Unvalued, all of that comes with connecting with someone. And we talk about brain development. We get into brain development as a kid. If you lack these connections with your parents, or with someone, whatever, your guardian, that's someone that is taking care of you, your nurturer. If you lack these connections, your brain is developing from that. Right. And it's creating this idea of life that's not supposed to be that way. So I had no idea for a long time that I was supposed to be validated. Like, what is that? Right. What does that mean? Mm-hmm. Then you grow up and you realize, like, dang, I don't value myself. But then you don't even realize that until you kind of educate yourself on these things. Because, like I said, self-sabotaging, me being a people pleaser, I thought that was a good thing. I love taking care of people. I love for somebody to be like, you know what? Thank you for doing that for me. That gave me life. And it's still, I don't want to not be that person. But I think I feel like people pleasing is kind of like a myth too. Because it's like, yeah, we're supposed to be out here helping people, but why is the energy different when it comes to yourself? Like, I remember I had seen somebody make a Facebook post like, why do you guys think it's so hard to do the things you do for other people to yourself? And I'm like, that's a loaded question.
I had to unlearn that.
Yes, you have to. And you know what? Like I said, we weren't taught. You know what I'm saying? We weren't taught to really be
honestly
in love with ourselves. And
I'm gonna give you a little pushback. Some of us were taught.
Okay.
Some of us were. We went through something that made it seem like what we were taught is a lie, which made us believe it's not true. Or we were taught that, yet everything we went through or everything we see, because some of us live through the lens of how everybody else is living their life. Well, they went through that. Must mean I'm going to go through it too. That's another form of self-sabotage.
Yes, lacking identity.
Because you are allowing everybody else's situation to make you believe it's going to happen to you, which is not true. Because number one, who said you are going to go through that? Number two, you have to believe in yourself enough to where I'm aware that this is making me feel some type of way. Why? Mm-hmm. Like, what is it about this relationship or this person that is causing me to believe it's going to happen to me? Why am I so connected to this thing?
Right.
To make me feel like everybody else do it. Also, just because you see a certain amount of people going through that thing doesn't mean everybody else is.
You know what that makes me think of? That whole spiel.
What?
People's views on marriage.
Yes.
Oh my God. If I hear
Absolutely.
one more time, well, marriage, you don't have sex no more in marriage. Who says that?
Or people say,
like, why does that have to be your life? Why does that have to be your narrative?
Or people blame somebody else's divorce on the reason why
they don't want to get married. Yeah.
Or I'm so glad I thought of this. Or one of the things that is a huge pet peeve of mine, you see something that happens at church and you say,
oh my God,
this is why I don't go to church.
See, yeah, this is why I don't go to church.
You weren't going in the first place.
You ain't had no plans to go. Stop playing.
But it goes back to the confirmation bias thing. Like,
yes,
you already weren't going. This is you just looking for reasons.
Just looking for it. Because at the end of the day, I'm sick of that narrative too. I'm sick of that conversation because humans are humans. Like, people will talk about the Bible all the time. It's kind of a sidetrack, but people will say things like, oh, this happened in the Bible. This and that. I'm like, do you know there were humans in the Bible, right? Did Jesus do that? You know what I'm saying? Like, I thought we were supposed to be followers of Jesus. Why are we bringing up people, what people did in the Bible, what people did in church? Jesus didn't tell them people to do that. That has nothing to do with what you're supposed to be there for.
I'm going to tell you the mistake we all make. Everybody. I don't care who you are. We make the mistake of putting people who hold these certain positions on pedestals, and we make them kings and queens.
When they're just humans.
When they have a human moment,
right?
All of a sudden, look at what they did. Oh, like, my goodness.
They're not robotic.
But here's the thing.
They're not perfect.
Nobody told you to put them up there.
Right.
You did that.
Right. Who told you to do that?
You're holding them to a standard that, number one, only God holds them to that standard.
Right.
Not you.
Like, I used to say that all the time. Like, that whatever a person is doing that you feel like is contradictory to their beliefs or whatever, that's between them and God. That's between them and God. Really don't got nothing to do with you.
And here's my thing. Unless God has called you to walk through this thing with that person, shut up.
It's none of your business.
If you're not going to pray, hush.
It's none of your business. Right. Especially if you don't want to help. Right. If you're doing it just to sabotage, but then it goes back to, well, that's what we do to ourselves.
We do.
If we sabotaging ourselves and if we're hard on ourselves and we have this fake humility,
do it to other
of course
people.
we're gonna look at other people like, yeah, that's why I don't go to church. Even though it's you that's messed up. That's why you ain't going. It's you that's messed up.
Let me say this. Because Easter is tomorrow. It's Resurrection Sunday. Jesus is alive and well.
Happy Resurrection Weekend.
The church is not for perfect people. It's for people. Jacked up people who are trying to get it right.
For sure.
That's what the church is.
For sure.
The people who have an issue with church, you made church perfect.
Right.
You made church this place.
Or you made religion where it's this, there's this perfection standard when it comes to religion. Like, why is it because I believe in Jesus and I believe in God and I believe in the Bible, now I'm looked at like, oh, you said you believe in the Bible, so I mean, why you smoking that cigarette? Like, you know what I mean? Like, bro, like,
I just watched a couple videos where it was these pastors talking, and this pastor gave a great example. Somebody, one of his members came up to him and was like, so do I have to stop smoking weed to come to church? And he was like, no. And they were like, what do you mean no? He was like, do I have to, before I come to church, before I have a relationship with Jesus, do I have to stop smoking weed? And he's like, no. Right. And the dude was dumbfounded because he told him, he said, you don't you get, it was great. He said,
talk to him, Dave.
You don't become clean before you get in the shower.
Right.
You get in the shower to become clean.
Right.
Walking with Jesus is the same way.
It's an internal thing. Like, and all of this is all related, right? But I feel like, why would you stop smoking if internally you want to smoke anyway? Like, right. If internally, like, I feel like for me, I'd want to kill the desire. It's the desire that needs to die. It's not the actual doing.
Right.
If the desire is there, like we know God looks at your heart. Where is your heart?
Like, what is the intentions of you now wanting to walk this thing out to be better?
Right. It's an internal thing. It's a heart thing. So we look at the externalization of people, but it's really the internal battle.
And that's where, to go back to trauma and everything, it's always a reflection of who we are, how we view the external part of a person.
Right.
Because if I sit here and I judge you based on something you're dealing with, like, I ain't got my own stuff I need to work on.
Right.
And it's just like, you got to love people to better. Right. But the reason why most people don't, because you don't love yourself.
You don't love yourself. We don't know how to love. We wasn't taught. Like I said, I know I wasn't. And it's no shade to my parents or anything like that. But I don't think I was taught how to love, how to value. I wasn't taught it. I feel like because they wasn't taught it. It's not shade. This is not shade. This is just. And now
the question is, do you want to learn?
Exactly. Of course. That's why I'm here. That's why I study myself. When I'm studying, the stuff that I'm studying me.
Right.
That's all I'm doing. I'm just studying me. I'm trying to find me in this information. Like, I'm trying to find how I can use this information to be better. And I'm just doing it on a platform. I just happen to be doing it on a platform. I don't want people to think like, oh, you're doing this research because you're trying to go viral. No, I'm doing this research. This was going to happen with or without this podcast.
Right.
I was going to be doing this anyway. I was already doing this. The stuff that I talk about, I was already talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
We just decided to jump on here, get some mics and some cameras and do it in front of people.
Yep.
But we was already having these conversations. Because one thing about me, I just feel like I'm very thorough. So when I put my mind to something like, oh, I want to be better, I'm not leaving no crumbs. I'm going after everything.
I told y'all in an episode before, I'm dying empty. And this is not just about going after dreams and goals. This is about the internal work that I'm doing. The internal work, the things that I'm realizing, like, Dave, how you're handling this is not right. We should do better. Or, because what I don't want to be a external success and an internal failure.
For sure.
I'm going to tell a personal story. When my brother Joseph passed away, got into a motorcycle accident. Motorcycle fell to the ground, hit a telephone pole, his head. What caused him to die wasn't the scratch on his head. He just had a scratch on his head. What caused his death, what was happening on the inside.
And what was that?
Internal bleeding. So he hit it so hard that it was just a scratch on the outside, but on the inside of his brain, it was bleeding profusely. And what we don't see, we see people's small scratches on the outside, but we don't see what they're dealing with on the inside. And some people are dying and are fully functioning while dying because all we see is what's on the outside.
Right. So you think there's this insensitivity with trauma?
I think so.
I think so too. I think there's absolutely, even within ourselves, like it's very, I don't know if we take it seriously. Like, oh, you know, my brain is wrapped around my experiences. If I had a bunch of crazy experiences and I've never dealt with it and I've never talked about it and I've never researched, try to figure out how I can overcome these things. Dang, I always do that. I always forget where I'm going with stuff. We were talking about what was we talking about?
And I said we look at people on their externally, but we don't know what's happening on the inside.
Yes, but I forget what I was trying to say to that. It'll come back to me. It'll come back to me. I don't know. I don't remember where I was going with that. Now I'm trying to think, but oh well. All right, so what was we talking about? You was talking about trauma responses, basically how we responded to trauma. Yeah. One of the technical terms.
Can I pause on you?
Yeah.
I asked you for the definition of self-sabotage, and I don't think.
Oh yeah, let's look that up.
Let's get that real quick.
I did look it up, but what did we start talking about? I don't know.
Well, you had given the list of.
So this is a long definition. It says self-destructive behavior is any behavior that is harmful or potentially harmful towards the person who engages in this behavior. Self-destructive behaviors have been shown by many people throughout the years. It's a continuum, which one extreme end of the scale being suicide. Self-destructive actions may be deliberate, born of impulse, or developed as a habit. So that's kind of, but like I think like the gist is it's harmful or potentially harmful to the person engaging in the behavior. So doing something that harms you. And I just feel like I said before, it's not always obvious that you're harming yourself. It's not always, like I said, people pleasing. We like to talk about I feel like people love to brag about being there for someone. But if you're so there, I think people brag about that a lot. And I know that like I used to brag about it a lot because it was kind of like feeling a void that I had within myself. It really wasn't filling a void, but I feel like that's what I was trying to do. You know what I'm saying? Trying to like, oh, I'm not being taken care of, so I'm going to take care of everyone else. And I feel like that's going to make me feel better about not being taken care of or not taking care of myself.
Right.
So I think people pleasing is like, I feel like that's such a trend and that's such a big thing. I feel like, and especially in our communities, that's all we know how to do. Mothers, single mothers.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's kind of self-sabotaging to, I'm not going to worry about nothing that has to do with me. I'm just going to take care of my kid, take care of my kid, take care of my kid, take care of my kid. Everything is about my kid. Everything's the kids. And we forget about ourselves. That's self-sabotaging. Even let's go deeper. You're teaching your kids to self-sabotage at that point too.
Yes, because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Your kids are going to get older. And I'm not saying most people think this way on purpose. I just think it's a result of you put your kids' needs first so much that when you get older, you're going to expect your kids to do the same for you.
Mm-hmm.
And take care of you.
And now they owe you.
And
like,
now
what?
they owe you. Well, I was always there for you.
I didn't ask you to get pregnant.
But the thing is, your kids didn't ask for this.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't ask to be here.
You chose this out of fear. You chose this because the construct of, or the idea of what it means to be a good mother means I always have to put my kids first and I have to forget about myself. But the thing is, early in childhood development, you're doing your kids a disservice.
100%. 100%. And I think it's very eye-opening for me because that's the whole point, right? Like, when you think about it, that's the whole point of being better.
Right.
That's the whole point. It's realizing like, oh, a lot of my habits were detrimental to me. And not only to me, I'm going to pass it right down to my child if I don't fix it.
You know what that's called? Do you know what it's called?
What's it called?
It's called, oh, it just left me.
See what is going on? It's the self.
Nope, I got it. It's called a generational curse.
You know what? And I have a word for that on here. They call it generational pathology. Yeah. Generational pathology. Doing what you saw. There's a saying, you are what you hate, you become what you hate. Do you believe in that?
Yes.
Before we jump into that though, what is because I said self-sabotaging, like for me, the biggest thing is the people pleasing, because there's this misconception that it's a good thing when it's not. You have any other like examples of what?
The way I self-sabotage, when I know I'm supposed to do something that's beneficial for my own development, I will hold it off because I am afraid, and I guess this is a form of people pleasing. I'm afraid of what people might think. Or how people are going to view me. And it will go on for so long, I will get so angry. What I do, I cut everybody off. Everybody. And it's like, even people who may have a little bit to do with it, I just want a clean slate. I don't care about nothing else.
Right.
Leave me alone. Like,
yeah.
I don't want to deal with nobody who had to do with it. But it's a form of running away.
You know what's so dope about that for me? I feel like that's a good thing that you care about what people think. But I think it's just a way to use that to your advantage as well. Because you have to understand that people do matter, but you are a person too. So you matter too. So what you think about yourself matters as well.
Right.
And I think, yes, 100% is self-sabotaging if you're only thinking about what other people may think and you're not ever thinking about how you think. I know something is going to benefit me, but I'm scared that people, even though I'm a person too, other people are going to not approve of it.
And
so I'm just going to keep self-sabotaging because I'm too afraid of other people.
And you will walk through this life so unhappy. So unhappy. And it goes back to what I said. Become numb to it all. Become numb to everything. And it's just like, you're doing more damage to yourself if you're not able to feel. When I got my wisdom teeth removed, not wisdom teeth. When I went to the dentist, they had to numb me up, work on my teeth. And they told me, when we're done, don't eat until you can feel your tongue again.
I don't know why that's funny. But
it's super
funny.
weird. And you look a little slow when you're done. Because your whole mouth is numb. You're drooling, everything.
Oh my gosh, shut up.
So what they said though was, because what you can do, you will bite on your tongue and not feel it. And you can bite your tongue off. Mm-hmm. So you're going through pain, but you don't feel it.
Right.
And that's how most people walk through life. some of us, I'm gonna include myself.
For sure. I know I'm numb to a lot of things.
We walk through life so numb that we are going through pain, but it's just like you're a zombie. You feel nothing.
What do you think some examples of that? Because that's kind of like that goes into one of a trauma response technical term is called disassociation, where basically that means it's a disconnection from reality. Your nervous system gets overwhelmed and you just completely disconnect. What do you think an example of that is?
Where you just disconnect from everything?
I just feel like, okay, so this for me, that kind of helped me thinking about my previous relationships, my last relationship more specifically. I felt like he did that a lot. And I was I didn't realize that it was a trauma response. I'm not saying that it was, but coming to think about it, it does seem like that's what it was. Where it's kind of like, it's almost like I'm just going to pretend there is not a problem. It's like that was like one of the biggest reasons that our relationship failed, because he always wanted to pretend that reality. He never wanted to tackle reality. Right. He always wanted to pretend like it wasn't real.
And it's like fight or flight.
Yes.
And I'm working on it. I'm the same way. But I'm the same way in regards to, I don't know. The first thing, I don't want to respond to this emotionally. So if I'm like upset and I'm having an emotional moment, let me come down and we can have this have a logical conversation about what's going on.
Yeah.
The second thing is, I believe with men, we are afraid to be wrong. Because if we are looked at as wrong, we are looked at as weak. And like we don't know what we're doing. Mm-hmm. And let me tell you what one of the most manly thing you can do as a man is admit that you were wrong and come to the realization, I didn't get it right here, but I'm not going to let it stop me for trying to get it right.
Yes, and I don't think that's a man thing. I think that's a human thing, and I think that's a human flaw to kind of be so accepting of yourself. Like that's why we're here, because it's like, again, it's kind of like an overload. Like, is it really self-love if you're loving all the things that harm you? If you're harming yourself? I just feel like I did it again, Dave. I did it again.
I saw it, yeah.
I did it again. What is the last thing you said? You said, what was the last thing you said? Do you remember?
I said, good Lord.
I think it's the Celsius and the lack of sleep.
No, I think it's the lack of sleep.
And then the caffeine is just like, my mind's racing and racing and racing, right. But it's tired.
No, we were, what did I just say?
Yeah, what did you say, Dave? Okay, let's go back. We were talking about, we were talking about disassociation.
Yes, that.
We were talking about
I said,
leaving.
The second thing I had said.
Shutting down emotionally, trying to come back to the table.
Being afraid to be wrong is what I was talking about.
Being afraid to be wrong.
And you said it's not just, you don't think it's just a man thing, you think it's just a human thing.
Yeah. Yes, I think it's just a human thing, but I kind of forgot where I was trying to go with that. I just feel like, again, sometimes like I feel like we can self-love can kind of be like I said, I think I said this on the self-worth episode, where it's like we looking at self-love as loving everything about yourself. And when really I feel like it's kind of the opposite. It's kind of picking things apart and kind of designing yourself how you want to be, instead of it being like, oh, I'm on a self-love journey. I don't care about, accept me with my flaws and all. Like, I'm happy that I'm imperfect. I'm imperfectly imperfect. Nothing needs to change about me. But while that's great and all that you have this confidence, is it really confidence if you can't, like you said, pick things out and say, well, this was wrong and I need to fix it? I don't think that's a gender thing. I think that's a human thing that we just love our flaws a little too much sometimes. And I think that's what, this podcast is about. Like, it's okay to be who you want to be. It's okay to change things about yourself.
And let me go back to the disassociation, pretending like ain't nothing wrong.
Just detaching yourself from reality.
It's not even about us being afraid of the situation, right? We are afraid of being misunderstood. We are afraid of, if I communicate how I feel, is this going to come back and bite me? Because that's my biggest thing with vulnerability. If I tell you how I really feel, are you gonna throw this back in my face? Because if that's the case, I'm shutting it all down right now. I'm shutting it all down.
So what does throwing it back in your face looks like? What does that even look like?
If I were to tell you, hey, the way you talk to me, the way you said that thing, it hurts me. It makes me feel like you don't respect me as a man. If you look at me and go, and you tell me you don't care, or you tell me later down the line, we go through the same thing again. Well, that's why you don't feel like a man. Oh, okay. So what am I going to do? All right. That's how you feel. I'm not bringing it up no more.
And that's why I feel like the education of trauma is important, because if you are disassociating, and what's crazy is the way they described it. It's really the opposite of, like, what is it? What is the other thing? It's called arousal response. So there's arousal response and there's dissociation response. And it's kind of the opposite. So arousal is like the act of being able to fight or flight, being able to make the decision to do something about it. And then dissociation is kind of like, I'm not able to fight it. I'm not able to flee it. So I kind of have to numb myself to get through it.
Right. Or it's like, I want to say, last thing about the disassociation thing. And this is not just a man thing. I think it's women also. But I think it's more said about for women than it is men. We often hear women want security, which is true. Women want to feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
A man will never disassociate himself if he feels safe. If I feel safe enough.
And I think that's where I was going with the education of trauma responses, or the education, just like I said, the education of trauma, period. You're able to point these things out. Obviously, you're not a doctor, You're not a therapist or anything like that. But I think you're able to just look at it differently. Like, if I see you shutting down, and if I'm looking at it like a trauma response, and I'm looking at it like your brain has literally developed its way to this point where you basically can't help it. That's why I wanted to talk about brain development, because if my brain is developed a certain way, it causes these responses. Why are we dismissing that? You know what I'm saying? And I think I did that a lot. I think we all do it, in relationships, where it's like, I'm ready to talk about this, but you don't want to talk about this. You need to grow up. You need to do this. And it's this attack, And so me, been reading up on the things I've been reading up on, it made me think like, dang, like I have been attacking trauma. People that are responding from pain. They're responding from things that is hurtful. Yes, it may be quote unquote a bad thing in the relationship, but when you start looking at people as people, and you're not so concerned about the umbrella term of the relationship and everything that's supposed to happen in a relationship, when you take all of that out, because I like to do that. I like structure. I like thinking about relationships in a sense of structure. Like, we're supposed to talk about everything and we're supposed to do this, but sometimes People are going to be people. So it doesn't always work like that. And I think just educating yourself on people and humans and human interaction and how the brain develops and how these responses, these trauma responses come about, you start to see people as actual people.
Right.
And now you're able to just have conversations from a person to a person, from love to love. Like you said, just loving a person. For me, that was eye-opening for me, because it's like, now I'm going to be way, way different in my conversations with people, just knowing now certain things that you do, I'd be ready to fight you for before, like you ignoring me, anything. Anything that's not going the way I think it should go, or you're not, quote unquote, being a good boyfriend or a good man to me. But a lot of times these things are happening because they are responding to things, to trauma. They may not know that, but but they're responding to it. And now we can kind of pick it out. And to me, that's the whole point of this conversation. That's the whole point of this conversation. Now I could talk to you. I can have a conversation with you. It's not about this battle between, oh, I'm a good person and you're not that good of a person. Right. Now let's actually, how can we build and grow if we can't have the conversations?
Yep.
So when I was reading up on disassociation, the whole disconnection from reality thing, I struggled with that a lot in my past relationship, just being completely insensitive to why it was happening. And like I said, that's eye-opening for me. It's because like now it's like, okay, instead of being so concerned about why it's so bad in a relationship, be more concerned about why it's happening to this person.
Yeah. And I'll say this too. And I've said this probably a few times before. We're going to repeat ourselves a lot on this podcast. Mm-hmm. You will be okay.
Got to remind you. Got to connect the dots,
But that's what relationships are, is a constant reminder of how to walk out this life together.
Yeah.
Every man has a cave. He goes to that cave because in that cave, it's safe. I can be myself. I can do whatever I want to do without, it's my escape from everything.
Mm-hmm.
A man will only come out of his cave if the woman is worth it.
Yeah.
If the woman makes him feel safe to come out of that cave. Because what you don't want is for you to be the reason he's in that cave in the first place.
For sure.
Because I know.
And I know I was a reason that a man went to his cave every time.
Every time. I know we do this thing where we tell women, be his peace. And of course, like everything else, it catches flack. It's a toxic way of thinking. I think it's
bring me peace first. Give me peace and I'll be your peace.
And I'm telling you now, what you do not want is for him to have peace in a place where you are not. Because I don't want you around.
Right.
You're part of the things that make me go crazy.
And like I said, the reason why that is because we lack education on people and how we are, how we move, the types of things that we do, the types of things that we do as a result of the things that we've experienced. Yes. We don't study these things and we don't talk about these things, but we have this super high expectation of people in relationships, but we don't take the time to actually get to know the person.
No, we don't.
What's the point of an expectation if you're not going to get to know the person to even see if they can even meet that expectation?
And I'll say this too, for all the men out there like me who has a cave. Yes, every woman the woman you are in relationship with should help you be the one of the reasons you come out the cave. But also let's be self-aware enough to where we think about, why am I staying in this cave in the first place?
Mm-hmm.
What is making me feel unsafe out there? to where I don't want to come out anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can't put it on everybody else all the time. Everybody else does play a factor to some point. However, at some point, you got to be like, are they causing me to stay here, or am I allowing them to make me stay in this cave?
Right. No, for sure. It's 100% still accountable. You know, you still have to be accountable, obviously.
Absolutely.
But yes, I mean, I think it's way more powerful of a woman to make the cave less effective. I feel like
Absolutely.
Because you're his cave in a way. You're his getaway. You're his
Yes.
escape.
Oh,
Because
my
he can
goodness.
100% be himself. He is completely guard all the way down himself. And the only way I feel like that happens is if we turn our sensitivity up a little bit with people. You know, instead of being this, oh, he got to do this and he got to be that and he got to be like this and if he can't communicate, oh well, if he can't do this. But it's like, what are the things that led him to that point? Why can't we care about that?
And ladies, let me help y'all out. I'm about to give y'all some insight. Okay?
Talk to me.
Pay attention. If you have a man that when he walks into a room and you in there and he can just be in that room and just be, and he's cool, that's how you know you got him.
If you can walk in a room,
if
and
he
just
can walk in that room and you are in that room and he can just lay on you and can just be, and he can just breathe and he can just relax, you got that man. You have caught him. He ain't going nowhere. Because the best thing.
Now, are we talking like literally, like I'm literally laying on you? Are we talking like more mentally, like this is,
well,
I'm relaxed?
Both plays a factor. Because if I'm not okay up here,
right?
No, I ain't gonna be in that room.
Yeah,
I'm going to my cave. However, it starts here. Starts in the mind, travels to the brain. My brain tells me where to go. So what I'm saying is, I already know when I walk into this room, my girl makes me feel safe. And I can just walk in, plop on the couch, and I can just lay on her lap. And we can just watch a movie or a show. Or if she want to talk, I will sit here and listen. I'm not going to respond much.
Shut up. You always say that.
I'm not. I just had a long day. I want to hear you. I want to hear about your day. I'm going to give one word answers. It doesn't mean I don't care. It just means I had a long day and I just want to sit here and be. If that man can sit there and feel like he's loved and you ain't got to do nothing, just be there. Like if your presence is enough for him, you got him.
He doesn't need you to do anything. He doesn't need much entertainment.
You don't need to do anything. The fact that you are there is enough for him.
For sure.
I'm that guy. If you can make me feel safe without doing nothing, if you can make the room feel like, all right, I can be myself here, and you do nothing, what? We in there. You got
right. Me. I think, was it Ayanna? Or she was on a Breakfast? I don't know if she was on a Breakfast Club. I seen a clip of her. I don't know if it was Ayanna though. I don't know who it was. It was that lady. She always going off. I love her. She gives real insight about this stuff. Like she's right. Heavy into it. She said something about women not understanding the power of silence, the power of being silent.
Oh, that's good.
It really is, because we talk a lot. We talk too much, actually. We don't never stop talking.
You said it. Because
I'm like, when she said that, I'm like, dang, when am I ever silent? Like,
you said it.
Maybe I don't know the power of silence, because I don't think I'm ever quiet.
I just want you to know, I'm gonna come back to this episode every single time. I just want you to know that.
Like, silence.
Like, You remember you said this? Yeah, let's go. It's on the internet, so it
It's
ain't
a work
going
in
nowhere.
progress. Listen, I'm not getting on here saying
I
that
know.
tomorrow Jazzy is gonna be trauma free because it's not gonna listen.
No.
I'm still triggered by some stuff. I'm still trying to figure things out. Like, why is this like this? You know, why am I behaving like this? Why can't I shut up? That's probably a next thing to talk about. You know, like, why do I like to talk so much? Why don't I want to? And I think that goes back to self-sabotage too. Because it's like, because you don't want to listen. You don't like, people don't like silence. I don't like silence, I feel like, because then I'm listening to my own thoughts.
Yeah,
and I'm alone with myself.
Yeah, and I promise you,
that man heard you.
That man heard you the first time. We heard you. You ain't got to keep giving examples.
I'm going to keep giving examples.
Literally heard you the first time.
You an introduction, a body, and a conclusion. And then I need your response.
And you know what?
To be an
and you know what? You want to know what my response
Not
is?
okay.
Nope. You want to know my okay. All right, I heard you. I hear you. Your feelings are validated. Your feelings are safe and welcomed here. But you're not about to get no drawn out response from me. I'm going to sit here and be like, okay. Any more you want to say?
Okay.
You got it out? Because once I start talking, hush and listen.
For sure.
I gave you that respect. All I ask is for it in return.
For sure. Unless, and like I said, silence, it has to be powerful because being able to listen is like, that's a part of communication that we forget. That's the communication we forget about. We love to talk about, oh, we so honest and we just can't wait to confront some things. I know that's me. I can't wait. I do that at work. Like, what? We're going to talk to the manager right now. Let's pull him aside because I need to talk. Because I like to talk. I like to express whatever's going on. But I think the best part of silence is understanding that being a good listener and actually listening to try to understand is a part of communication. What they say, like, what is the percentage of nonverbal communication? I think it's more nonverbal communication out here than it is verbal.
You could have stopped right at understanding. The best part of silence is understanding.
Yeah.
Is understanding that, one, you just need to hush. And two,
sometimes it's not even a solution thing. It's just like not solution thing. Not talking.
Silence will make you understand, one, both perspectives. Also, it will tell you that if you are overreacting or not. And in most cases, you are.
For sure. For sure. So I have a list here. I don't know where I was kind of going with this, but I just have a list that says long-term stress. So long-term, and we can change stress to like, stress is really just just a response. We can look that up. It's just a response to experiences, basically. Yeah. I would just say what stress is. It's just like this response to experiences. And then if we think about everything that we talked about, you know, how your brain can be developing on stress. And the long-term effects of stress is what brings these disorders like depression, anxiety. There is actually studies about how it's linked to diabetes and stroke. And there's actually, there's, I guess, doctors who treat diabetes and you know, like treat things physically being wrong with you physically being sick. They don't talk about trauma or stress. Like I think a book I was reading, this doctor was saying this lady's, she had diabetes and I guess her insulin wasn't working. And they was trying to figure out why. And they was trying to, you know, think of all the things physically, you know, as to why her insulin wasn't working. But it came to find out because she was in a hospital, she was hearing ambulance all the time. And that was triggering a trauma. That was triggering a trauma response for her. And it was actually making her blood sugar go up.
Oh, wow.
So I think that's eye-opening.
Yeah. Because
not only does this affect us socially, but this can affect us physically.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I remember someone said something about they feel like their relative had a stroke because of stress.
Absolutely. I agree.
And I mean, we talk about this, but that's a lot. Like, I've heard that before. Like, oh, you get stressed out, you have a stroke. Or, we'll joke about that. Like, you're going to make me have a stroke. Like, but that can really happen. That's eye-opening for me because it's like, when you think about your health, your physical health, like you will see people say stuff like that all the time. Like, I don't care how much you run on the treadmill. If your mental ain't right, you're still not healthy.
The Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he. Whatever the thought is, automatically, and we said this already, but I'm going to say it again. Whatever the thought is, it goes from your mind to your brain and your body reacts. Stress starts in the mind first because stress is a response to whatever's happening, right? And then it triggers your brain tells the rest of your body, I'm stressed. And your body naturally reacts to that. Physically.
That's deep for me.
And if you are not careful, that is why you have to be careful about what you allow to go on in your mind. Because it all starts there.
It's all so relative. Like,
it's
all so important.
All so relative. But it all goes into like this chronological order, right?
Yes. It's like what we feed our brains, what we feed our minds, it's shaping us. It's shaping us to become what we're trying to become. Right. Or not, or it may be doing the opposite. And so I just think that's just, it's so hard to put into words because this is real time. Me trying to learn myself and be a better person. So I'm hearing these things myself and I'm like, Jazzy, everything you do is shaping your brain, making your brain develop a certain way. And that is what's causing the external things. That's what's causing all the things that you're doing. When we say like, oh, I can't help doing this or I can't help doing that, that goes to like addiction. Being addicted to something is a result of your brain developing a certain way. And this is what comes out of it. This is a result of whatever experience you had that created this image in your mind of how this is supposed to be. And a result of that is addiction.
Right.
That's one result. That to me is very eye-opening because it's like we so focus on addiction, but what caused it is what we more so should be focused on. It's what causes the addiction. It's not the addiction more so than what brought it. And then when you think about, like I said, this could have been going on since you were 2 years old.
Right.
Your brain has been developing based on all these experiences that created whatever the word is that it created, and then it influenced these behaviors.
And pay attention to your response to it, because what will speak most isn't what happened to you. It's how you responded to it. And based off your response, can make your life go one way or the other. For example, going back to my dad and I's relationship, I knew in my head, and I believe this is the reason why our relationship is better today. In my mind, I knew I wanted our relationship to be better. So my mind automatically told my brain, act away to make sure that the relationship with your father is better. So what did that mean? Forgiveness. It meant spending time with him. Go talk to him. Putting in, you have to make the move because this is what you want.
Right.
And most of us don't go after what we want because in our minds, we already made a conclusion. So before our bodies get to the conclusion, our minds are already there. So what you have to do is tell your body, hey, I want this. We have to move now to go there.
And what I think you said that's the most important thing about it is we know that our experiences shape who we are.
Yep.
Pretty much is what we're saying. The brain development, all that, that's it. Our experiences shape who we are. You changed your experiences. Your experiences was no relationship. So guess what? Now I'm going to change the experience to a relationship. And that's going to help change your brain development or change the way. Oh, that's so deep to me.
And I want to preface this too. I don't know how much more we got to go. But I want to say this before this episode or this part of the episode is over. You don't have to, it doesn't have to stay that way.
Right.
What do I mean? There's always an opportunity to change your life. Yes, what happened to you happened to you. Absolutely. And it's sad that it happened. But now you are at a place, because life is all about choices. You're always going to make a choice. And the choice starts in your mind. Every day you have to choose. Mm-hmm. Am I going to let what happened to me keep allowing my life to go a certain direction that I don't want it to go in?
But before you even get to that step, you got to be honest that you are going through something.
Absolutely.
You got to be honest that you are self-sabotaging, that you are addicted, that you are stressed, that you do have anxiety. I still have to figure out where my anxiety come from. I wouldn't say I have an anxiety disorder, but I 100% have anxiety issues. And I think we talked about that. Maybe it's wrapped in fear, just being afraid. I don't know. I think in a book I was reading, they was talking about how fear can be passed down, and that's kind of like where we were going to. And we just touching on it. General pathology. I like technical terms, but just generational pathology. Basically just talking about how things are passed down, how behaviors are passed down. You do what you see, you do what you hear. And like I said, that's what we were going to get into. We were going to talk about, there's saying that you become what you hate. Do you feel like you become what you hate? Like say you.
Yeah. I resented my father, who is a pastor. And for the longest, here's a fun fact for you and those listening. When you are a pastor's kid, the popular thing to do is think your kids got next, which is not always the case. However, people always ask me.
What do you mean? Okay. I don't understand. You said your kids got next.
So if my dad's a pastor, David, you're going to be a pastor one day. So that's like the general thing. And most people would ask me like, Dave, when you going to start preaching? My answer would be never. Never.
You never wanted to?
Mm-mm. For a long time, I never wanted to, based on what happened with my dad.
What do you mean? Oh, y'all relationship.
Yeah.
So you didn't want to be like him because
I blamed the fact that he was a pastor on the fact that he wasn't really there. Because
why do you think you did that? How did you create that relationship or that correlation?
Because we was always at church.
Okay.
And I felt like he put his church before his children. Mm. And so my response was,
I don't want to be like that.
I don't want to be like that. Never.
So the question was, do you believe that we become what we hate?
Yeah, and I hated pastors. I didn't hate church. I didn't blame the church on that. Pastors, though, didn't care much for them. Didn't care at all. However, or, standing on a platform and preaching. Never. Hate. For what? But I had to, as I got older, I had to realize where all that was coming from. Why do I hate this so much? Do I hate the thing, or do I hate what happened to me?
Right.
because we don't really hate that.
It's never
We hate what happened to us.
It's never what we think it is. It's never the surface. It's the in-depth things that's going on in our brains.
Right.
That's what's causing
I
this thing.
hate what happened to me. And I hate what I believe caused my relationship with my dad to go bad. So, fast forward to 2017, living in LA. I was leading worship at a church. And I got a call from the pastor. He was like, hey, I want you to preach Sunday. Now, I had been doing the work, healing, all that. My initial thought, because I paused for I didn't even respond for the first 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. Within that 10 seconds, I literally heard God say, do it. And before I could even think about it, I was like, yes. And so a few times, and it was my first time I ever stood on a platform and preached.
How'd you feel about that?
Felt great. It was liberating because I wasn't using what happened to me as a reason to say no. And when you can identify what's been holding you back for so long from doing what you knew one of the things you are supposed to do, there's a freedom in that when you start walking in it. Because it wasn't just for me.
Right. For sure.
Like, me preaching wasn't just for me. It was for everybody else too. Mm-hmm. And most people think their freedom is a singularity thing. Most people think it's just for you. Mm-hmm. No. Your life, you got free so you can go back and show other people what it's like to be free and the work you had to do to become free. Mm-hmm. And not just become free, tell them the work it takes to stay free. Because your freedom is not just about you. Sure. If that was the case, Harriet Tubman never would have went back.
Heal people for her cause. Listen here.
She would have never went back if it was just about her being free.
For sure. And I wanted to get into that too, guys, just to touch base on it, not really to go in depth, because we can actually talk more about that in part 2, because we ain't done. We got more to talk about with trauma. Generational pathology, passing down behaviors. I have to say, my mind went to slavery when I was studying that.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it,
we ain't even got to go all the way back to that.
But if we do,
I mean, yeah,
the passing down of this, because we, like I said, we're not really aware that we're self-sabotaging. We're not really aware of why we are addicted to things. We're not really aware that stroke can come from stress and all of these things. And it's like thinking about what our ancestors went through. Mm-hmm. And they created a family, and just think about the brain development, what we was talking about. A slave being born into being a slave. That the brain development of all the experiences, and then they're having kids, and then they're having kids, and they're having kids, and they're having kids. You don't think that we are still mentally going through that in a way? We have to be. Because it's in our DNA. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be for everybody. But I 100% I don't think that there's this coincidence that there's this lack of self-worth in our culture, or there's this, we all faking it. We faking this confidence. We're faking this self-love journey. We're self-sabotaging, saying we love each other, love ourselves. That I feel like it had to have come from what we know. And what we know come from the experiences. And like I said, it was passed down and down. So I feel like we are still products of it. And I know that there is this argument out there, that, we're not slaves. Our ancestors were slaves, but we are not slaves. But the issue is when we're talking about trauma, it gets deep because we kind of come from it in a way. We kind of come from these traumatic experiences. And who's to say who healed from what? Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Who's to say what's in our lineage? Who's to say what, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I don't ever want to get on here and say anything bad about my parents. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're just product of their parents. And their parents are just a product of their parents. Right. And it keeps going, and it keeps going, and it keeps going. So for me to sit here and just completely shun the idea of pretty much having PTSD, pretty much our culture having PTSD in a way. Yeah. I can't say that's not true. I can't say that it's true for everybody, but I can't leave that out of the conversation. Like, we have this idea that we know we pass down behaviors. I know we pass down behaviors because I know that I am so much like my parents. I am so much like them in good ways and in bad ways. So I see it happen. We all see it happen. I could say that all day. My daughter acts just like me. That's not a coincidence. Right. So just think about all the products of all the experience, the things that we experience as a culture, as Black people. You know what I'm saying? And then we all had kids after that, and we kept having kids, and we kept having kids, and we kept having kids, and we think that this doesn't connect. That our lack of self-worth or our ability, like, I remember before entrepreneurship was a trend. Just think about before entrepreneurship was a trend. Think about what entrepreneurship looked like to our culture before real estate and all that got popular. You know what I'm saying? People was looking at you like, what? You gonna buy that building? Bye. Right. Only white people can do that. We saying this well after slavery. Well after. So I can't leave that out. Right. I can't leave that out of this conversation. And that just goes back to education. It's not blaming anything on anyone, because at the end of the day, this is still an accountability show. So I'm not here saying, yeah, we're products of slavery, we just have no hope. No, it's just having the education of understanding that there is a reason you feel inferior. There is a reason for that. And we talked about being taught that way. We're kind of taught that we will never own anything, that we're not meant to own anything. Now we have to reteach ourselves to and it just goes back to everything that we talked about. A lot of what we learned and gained from our generations, we kind of have to unlearn and reteach ourselves. Yeah. Recreate our experiences like Dave did with his dad. Recreate, change the narratives.
And so
intentionally.
There's a spiritual side to the generational pathology. And it's called generational curses.
For sure.
And, a lot of what's passed down in a spiritual sense too is internally. I'll give an example. Money. So I come from a long line of entrepreneurs that I never knew until recently. Mm-hmm. There is, he's like a great 9 generations ago, grandfather of mine, who built a hotel called the Driskill. It's still up in Austin, Texas. Beautiful. And my grandfather, my dad's dad, would have been, and so we're going all the way, pushing all the way forward. Mm-hmm. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. He had his own, like, I think trucking company or like blacktop. It's something like construction, whatever. He would have been the first Black man to own a Burger King franchise. Mm. They approached him. Let me tell you what his response was. His response was, no, because I don't want white people to think I got money.
Why do you think that?
So
that's interesting.
The generational curse is dying without a lot of money. So 9 generations ago, that great grandfather winter storm came, killed all of his farmland, killed all the animals. Could no longer pay for the hotel and everything. He died broke. Grandfather died, not a lot of money. My dad has his own driving business. He first started off doing Uber and everything, got clients based off that. Started his own driving business. My father made the realization that he doesn't want that for his family anymore. Having me, who's an entrepreneur, I don't want that for my family.
Right.
So the generational curse of my family dying without money and not leaving an inheritance for our children and children's children, the generational curse ends with me.
Of course, absolutely.
But
That's the
here's
whole
the
point.
thing. You have to acknowledge that, one, there is a generational curse.
Right.
Two, where it comes from.
Right.
Three, where it ends.
Right. And then there's internal work.
And then there's an internal work, and then there's work to do to make sure that the generational curse doesn't continue.
Because that's a conversation, right? Where we forget about who we are internally.
Right.
We forget about fixing who we are internally, because I see people all the time kind of chasing the bag, but at the same time, they're still self-sabotaging.
And the thing is, everybody's chasing a bag, but why is it every time you get money, it ends up missing quickly?
It goes right back into the white community, but that's another conversation.
Like, it's like there's holes in your pocket. Like, what is it that causes every time you get money, you lose it just as quick as you got it? So there is a generational curse that's happening, and it's not even about money. Sometimes it can be divorce. Everybody in your family done got divorced. Everybody.
Boy, if you was in a 2-parent household, you was lucky.
Or it could be something as far as like abuse. Everybody in your family done got abused. All the women in your family been abused. That's a generational curse.
Yes. 100%.
And you have to come to the realization it ends with me.
Right.
Absolutely ends with me. Now, I ain't saying you got to put up with everything. Like, I said divorce. If you in an abusive relationship, get out.
Absolutely.
I ain't saying all that.
It sucks that we have to have that disclaimer, because it's like, duh, if it doesn't work, if it's detrimental, because there's self-sabotage and there's just sabotage. Somebody sabotaging you. You know what I'm saying?
And you're right. It is sad we have to say that, but we have to, because
of course we do.
There are people who feel like there's no way out, which is also a
and
generational
then we don't want
curse.
to, we don't want to promote marriage to a point where we're promoting being unhappy in marriages. Like, that's not, no, absolutely not. I don't believe in that. I do not believe in that. So yes, generational pathology or curses, that is big. I would love to go deeper into that, because one thing, Oprah's a big trauma head. She researches, I guess, because all the abuse that she went through as a kid made her very passionate about this subject. Right. And she had a quote, well, I didn't know that oak came from an acorn, but that's basically what she was saying. Like, in order to get to know the oak, you got to go back to the acorn. I'm guessing because the acorn the oak comes from the acorn. But that's just basically kind of why I want to dig a little deeper into
absolutely
the acorn, or the root of us, the root as a people, because again, the things that we go through as a culture, I don't believe it's a coincidence that these things are happening, especially knowing what we went through, what our ancestors went through, knowing we see that things gets passed down. We see that we act like our parents. We see that our kids act like us. And then we just completely take out the fact that there has been all these other things that's been going on for years and centuries and centuries and centuries, and it's still happening today. Right. And we don't connect the dots. So 100%, that's definitely something to connect. We really can end on that for real. There was this, this is just touching on it real quick. in a book I read, it was talking about how traumatic behaviors are deemed deviant in schools. And they're just thrown, they're deemed deviant, so they're punished for it, and they're thrown in jail for it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's important to bring up because it's the lack of education, not just within us, but within the education systems, within the justice systems. We are literally punishing people from literally like I said, the brain development
we're
causing these behaviors, and then we're being punished for things that was going to happen anyway because of our experiences.
We are being punished based on a flawed system that we didn't even start. We had nothing to do with the system being created. Yet we are being punished for it.
We're being punished for being traumatized by things. We're being punished for having feelings that we kind of really don't understand yet, because we're talking about kids. I'm not even talking about grown-ups. But the grown-ups are the product of the kid, right? So if you were a kid in school and you was a bad kid, now I look at bad kids differently. I don't look at bad kids like bad kids, because when you think about,
they want to be bad.
Is it a trauma response? And then what are we doing with these these kids that are going through trauma responses? We're just throwing them in suspension. We're writing them off like, oh, he's a bad kid. Write him up, suspend him.
And don't none of that work. That's the thing.
It don't work.
Man, I got detention for the dumbest reason. Asking for a piece of paper. You know what I did the next day? Asked for a piece of paper.
Asking for a piece of paper.
She got fired that same year, so it doesn't matter. But anyway,
oh my God.
My point is,
I just thought that was
they never work.
A good point to bring up, because we got to understand that our children is the next generation. You know what I'm saying? So if we're going to continuously punish our children for literally just being humans,
right?
Our God created our brain to work the way it's working. Whether, you know what I'm saying? So the experiences that leads us to all the behaviors that we're doing, that's how it's supposed to go. It's just that the experience that we experience is not how it was supposed to go. But the way it creates your behaviors and how it develops your brain, that is supposed to happen that way. It's just the experiences that's supposed to be different.
Right.
So a kid can't help that, though. If you're a 3-year-old and you've had all these experiences as a 3-year-old, of course you're going to have deviant behavior. But the fact that it's looked at as deviant, it's just, that's a whole conversation within itself. But I just wanted to bring that up because it's just, I want to change the conversation. You know what I'm saying? I just want to change the conversation and be more sensitive to people.
Yes. Because
our experiences is says a lot about us and our behaviors and the way we act. And a lot of us, we walk around we feel like we're so entitled to good behavior. We think we're so entitled to the right man and the right woman and the person that does all the right things. But we forget about the trauma, and we forget about the experiences, and we forget about how that creates a human and how that creates behaviors. And we don't talk about it enough. That's how I feel. We don't talk about it enough. And pain is very real. It's not just a mental thing, you know, this whole mind over matter, like pain is not real. You know, I think sometimes people think like that, like, oh, pain is just, it's in your head. It's all in your head. No, it's actually not. Studies show that it causes diabetes and things like that. So It's a very real thing to be in pain. And it's very, and I just think that just brings light to understanding how important the education of getting to know yourself and getting to know the things that you do and why you do it, why that is so important, because you're literally chasing after your health when you do that. You're literally, you're not leaving any crumbs when it comes to your mental health. When you talk about mental health, you know, what is that? I think that's a lot of what we talked about. But, you know, mental health, you know, people are not going in depth, I feel like, with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like I said, my revelation from this, just talking about trauma or researching trauma, is understanding that me walking into researching trauma was me trying to figure out what's wrong with me. Then I had to think about it. When I actually start researching it, I was finding out that there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
So I like to end on that note to say,
I told you that.
The research of trauma, you did.
I sure did.
You see how this works? It's so crazy. You did. You did. And I didn't realize that until I started researching what's wrong with me, just to find out there's nothing wrong with me. The brain works. It works great. It works exactly how it's supposed to work. It's just reacting to your experiences because that's the way we were wired. That's how we're wired. So now, what do we do with that? What do we do now that we know that? And I think that's what our next episode is going to be about.
Yeah, there's definitely a part 2. Part 2.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Period.
Well, great conversation. Great conversation.
For sure.
All right, so this next segment is
Lord.
called
I seen you getting it together.
Did That Really Happen? Okay.
On a lighter note. Is this a lighter note?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I was a little I'm still kind of nervous.
Oh, my God.
However,
myself, sis.
I just want to see Nell's reaction because mine was crazy. So my friend sent this to me in my DMs on IG, and I just want to. It starts with a question, and you got to listen really closely. You got to listen, okay, to the story. But the question starts off: what's a fetish you couldn't agree on with your partner? All right, here we go.
What? What's a fetish you?
Wait a minute. I got to start over.
What? I'm already annoyed. I'm already irritated.
All right, here we go. Where's the speaker?
You are so annoying.
What's a fetish you couldn't agree with your partner? So about a week ago, my wife told me she thought the idea of eating my booty hole was hot and she wanted to do it. I thought that was kind of weird, so I laughed and said I guess we can try it, but I asked her what was too hot about it, and either some gentle prodding I got to the heart of the issue. She wanted to try eating my poop. I love my wife so much. We've been married for 6 years, have 2 beautiful children and a wonderful life together. I figured that I could at least try it even though the thought makes me squeamish. For her, she definitely does intimate things for me that don't really get her off, so I thought what's the harm? Well, she took the kids to her mom's house yesterday and told me to shower. I showed up and she had a drink for me when I got out. I drank a couple more, then we went to the bathroom and got naked, and she laid in the tub and I crouched over her with my booty hole exposed. She started kissing and licking it while rubbing my rocket, which honestly was not unpleasant. Then it got a bit weird. She was moaning and playing with herself while eating my booty. Then she moaned, "Feed me, baby. I want your poop. I want it all." I tried to poop, but it was really weird and uncomfortable. Right as I started to feel it slipping out, I heard her moan, "Hell yes." Then she sucked a small piece of poop right out of my booty hole and started eating it. I felt so gross and uncomfortable that I honestly almost started crying. I watched the mother of my children and the woman I love suck a nugget of poop out of my butt and eat it. It was one of the most disgusting experiences of my life, and I need to talk to her because she texted me today that she wants to eat more of my special brownies, and I haven't responded.
So, just so y'all know, that is a true story.
That is a trauma response, 100%.
It is a true story. So the question is,
what happened to her in her childhood that would make her want to do something like that?
The first question is, first question. What is like a fetish that you could not agree with your partner on? Other than that, of course, never. 2, what would be your response to that?
Response to what?
If
like what am I responding to? Like what? I need to know.
So if your partner came up to you and was like, "Hey, I want you to try this new fetish with me."
And what is the fetish? It depends on what it is.
So my question was, is there a fetish that you couldn't agree?
Absolutely. It's probably thousands of them.
Give me an example.
Threesomes, anal sex. If we're talking sexually, I'm not doing that. None of that. I'm not touching your booty hole. I'm not doing it. I'm not touching it, let alone my tongue going down there, bro. Stop it.
Nope.
Stop it. I don't want you to touch mine either.
Never.
Like, I know those women that want to get their booty ate. I don't feel like it's not I don't feel like a booty hole is a sexual organ.
No. Feces.
It's not
all
a sexual organ.
I don't care.
Like, vagina and penis is enough when it comes to sex.
There's nothing.
That's all we need. We don't need booty holes too. I don't understand the whole booty hole thing. Like,
listen, I don't even know how you wrap your mind around the fact that this is something you possibly want to do. Like
we just talked about
she
it.
literally sat there and told this, I want you.
Her experiences.
My response would be
made her brain develop. Ain't nothing wrong with her, Dave.
no, something wrong. Something is
Nope. We changed the conversation.
Nope.
What happened to you, boo?
There is one.
What happened to you?
There is one exception.
There is
and
not
that
any
is
exception.
me chewing on what he said, your special brownie nuggets, whatever it is.
That is trauma.
Something is my
happened to
response.
him.
My
Something
response would
happened to
be,
her.
of course, something happened to her. Of course, maybe she got slapped in the face with it.
Shut
I don't know. My response would be,
I hate you so much.
Get in the car. We are going to get you checked out.
Psychologist, ASAP.
Psychiatrist,
Yeah.
because you are a psycho.
When you need straight jacket. This is a straight jacket situation.
Oh, I would be so scared.
Seriously.
I would not sleep in the same bed. I probably wouldn't even be in the house.
Because
Wouldn't be in the house. Nope.
So what's the fetish you couldn't agree with?
All the things you said.
So you wouldn't want a threesome either?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't like.
You don't fantasize about like two women?
No.
You can be honest, Dave. It's okay.
No.
I won't judge you. I would just ask what happened to you.
I don't like people.
You're right.
I'm an introvert. I want one person. That's where I thrive. Right. One woman. Okay? That's it. Also, it's like if you are having a threesome, at some point y'all gonna be competing. Who has time for that? No.
Right.
I'm good. It's too much. I think also, no anal. No. Keep your booty hole where it is.
Keep it for the things. It's
something.
It's supposed
things
to
are supposed
eliminate.
to come out.
Yeah, right. It's supposed to eliminate things.
Things are supposed to not go in.
Stuff in there.
Yeah.
How are we making sense of this?
God did not make your booty hole.
He didn't.
For that.
He didn't. It's not even open. Your booty hole.
Handcuffs. Handcuffs. Can't do it. Nope. No.
I've never done it. I don't know why I would be.
I've never done it either.
To it. Do you think that's a trust thing that you can't do handcuffs?
No, I just want to be free. No.
Why do you want to be free though? You know, we got to dig a little deeper, Dave. Because handcuffs, I feel like if you don't like it, that means you don't like being handcuffed. Yeah. To me, that means you just don't trust.
No.
What comes with that?
It's not trust. My ancestors were in shackles and chains. I don't need to have that example running through my brain. I'm good.
Say it's a trigger, huh? Nah, we ain't doing the handcuffs. I need freedom.
We not doing this for the ancestors. This is not a tribute to
them.
So
if y'all role playing and I'm the cop, whatever, and dang, we can't play cops and robbers.
You can put my hands behind my back, but you not putting no cuffs on there. I'll pretend.
I know, because yes, I do have anxiety, like when it comes to stuff like that. Because like, what if you can't get them off? Like,
yep. See,
what
there
if you
go.
lose the key? Because I lose the key or something.
Yep. And I'm gonna be, and I'm
police station and explain ourselves.
I'm going to be pissed. You ruined the whole moment, and now we can't never do it again. Never.
Oh God.
Ruined all the fun.
I love how our fetishes or the fetishes we can't agree with
goes right
sexual.
Back to the conversation.
Yeah, and it went right back to trauma.
But no, I can't.
Because everything is wrapped up in trauma and our experiences and stress. Oh my gosh, y'all. I can't wait to study some more.
I can't do the handcuffs. You're not roping me to the bed. None of that. No whips. No.
Yeah.
No whips. Goes back to slavery. No, thank you.
Like, why do we want to whip each other? That's kind of kinky.
No.
Oh, this made me want to study this stuff so much. Like, it's just now I just want to tap into people's brains now. Like, I want to understand people. Like, now I just like feel like I want to understand.
I want to understand people too. However,
why y'all like doing stuff?
There's some things I just don't want to know. Like, if that's your thing, keep that your business. That's cool. You know, you can talk to nails. I'm just like, oh, God bless you.
I went to school for psychology, so I used to want to do this for real, like be a therapist, be a psychologist.
I was about to say, you wanted to whip people?
I wanted to be a clinical psychologist. No. I wanted to, this is the stuff we talked about today, I wanted to talk about that as a career.
Yeah. I still think about going back to school, get my psychology degree. But
you got to get a PhD or a PsyD, though.
Yeah, that's too much school, and I hate school. So
basically medical school.
I'll just be an unofficial life coach.
Yeah, I thought about going back for mental health counseling or something like that, just some type of counseling degree.
Yeah.
That would be dope.
That would be dope. Well,
all right.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in to Nah But For Real Trauma Part 1.
Trauma Part 1.
Make sure you tune back in for Part 2 next week.
Yes, let's talk about it
We
some
love
more.
y'all. Thank you for the support. We out of here.
Peace.
Nah, but for real, tell me how I feel. We on that fire, tell me what's the deal. Nah, but for real, tell me how I feel. We on that fire, tell me